Hi, my name is Damian Montero. I'm the organizer of Florida JS, one of the largest developer meetup groups, and I wanted to create this video for you that's starting in bootcamp and how to get the basics. Now, what I'm planning to do here is go over certain things that you should know, and feel free to sort of skip ahead with the arrow keys if there's something you already know, but maybe you should sort of check what's going on in here. What we have here in front of us is a screenshot. You'll see it above me right here, right? Sort of over there. It is my computer. I just literally have an old laptop. It happens to be a Mac in this case, that I wipe clean, and so this is what you get literally if you got it out of the box. Now you may have a lot of changes, but I'm going to go through the basics of what you do to get ready for your boot camp. Congratulations, first of all, on getting the boot camp. So you'll see me reach down here because, of course, the laptop is next to here and all that. But you're seeing it live just above me. You can see me move the cursor around here, and you can see what's going on here. I want to go over some really basics in here. First, I'm going to go over certain things like, for example, how to move things around, how to install what you need to install, and how to get ready for that boot camp so that you're not showing up and then there's 2-3 hours that the professor or the TAs have to do to help you get ready. Here's some of the basics you have to do. So one of the basics is folder structure. So if you think about it, your computer is really a bunch of files getting together, and we as programmers manipulate those files. We add to those files, we remove the files, and we're going to learn how to do different things with it. Now, because I just installed the latest version of Big Sur, and I'll quickly mention at the very end how to get Big Sur on any laptop that's as old as 2014, then I got this particular folder. But you, for example, might not get this particular folder. So I didn't drag it into my head. Where my head is here in the video, you actually picture the trash can. So I dragged it there. And that's one of the things we can do about it. Here's what I would start with yourselves with bootcamp. You might have a lot of icons here. I don't have any. But one thing you definitely do is one directory where we will choose to write our code. I tend to choose the words code. So what I'm going to do is with 2 fingers, I'm going to go down on the trackpad and press right click. I'm going to get a menu here. This menu, I can choose new folder here. And I'm going to, now the moment I've done that, I'm clicked on new folder, and the second I did, I could reach down to the keyboard and start typing. And I'm going to do that, C-O-D-E, okay? So let's do that. I think I clicked on something else and all that, but normally you'll be able to, the moment you did it, you'll be able to do what's going on in here. Upper and lowercase is important. So if I happen to want to choose the word code as what's my code is going to go here, then I make sure to choose the word code with a capital letter. As programmers, you will have to be aware of what's going on in here. So you say to yourself, Damien, I have a mouse or one of those single button mouses or whatever the case may be. I don't know how to double click or right click. If you plug a regular mouse to your Mac, the right click button will work. And so the right click will do the same thing as we did with these 2 fingers together, tapping on the trackball like this. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm just doing this and I'm tapping on the board. So I'm going to tap on it one more time, and then I get the menu that you see here. We want to talk about many of the things. Again, if you're having some trouble, click on the desktop and go File, and there is the option for New Folder here. And I'm going to choose another one, Code 2. Okay? Why did I do that? For the same reason we want to find out what's going on here. One of the things is going to be file management. How to understand the files, how to create new files, how to get into the files, and how to do things with the files. Let's just say we didn't want to do anything with this. Or in this case, I created a second folder and I didn't want it anymore. Option number 1 is to click on it and drag it to the trash can. Now again, one more time, let me see if I can move myself out of the way for a second. There we go. That's a little bit better, right? I'll just kind of hide myself in here. One of the things you can do is you can go ahead and move it to the trash can. So as you can see, although my webcam here at the very bottom, hey, how you doing by here, was hiding the trash can, you can see it was always there the whole time. So I'm going to drag and I'm going to hold. Now, how did I drag? So I'm going to bring it back here. Now I'll tell you what I did to restore the files. By the way, I did Command, that's the key to the left of the space bar. Again, we're talking about the Mac in this video only. We'll have another video when it comes to Windows later. Command and Z or Z, the one to the left of the X, the last letter in the alphabet. I'm Canadian, so I don't remember which one it is that we always say here. So one of the things we want to do is if we do something we don't want, like for example, I drag and drop it in here, and I'm like, that's not what we wanted, I want to drag somewhere else. Hold on the command key. So that's the one with the sort of infinite pound sign or number sign next to the spacebar on the Mac. And I'm going to go ahead and take it out there. By the way, just a quick reminder, if you are a Mac lover and install a regular, say, fancy Windows-like keyboard here, the Win keyboard, so the keyboard that has the Windows logo, is the same as the command. So you can use your favorite keyboard that you've always had before you had a Mac with your Mac if you feel like it. And thus the Windows keyboard, if it doesn't have a command keyboard, key will be the one that you want to do. Most modern laptops, Macs from the last 10 years have had both the sort of fancy number sign and the command, the word command, on their keyboards for a very long time. All right, so let's do that one more time. I'm going to drag this folder I didn't want, and I'm going to drag it down here to trash. I now want to delete that folder, and it is now gone. I'm going to undo it one more time, and I'm going to right-click on it, that is using these two fingers or the right-click on the mouse. I'm going to tap on it with two fingers. I'm going to get the options menu. Different options are here. We'll talk about what they are in a second, but what I'm going to do is going to choose the same move to trash. So I've trashed everything. Okay? Let's move on, talk about different other things. I went and I, for some reason, made a particular project. Project 1. I started work on it, or I started working with the teacher, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this was in the wrong directory, and when I checked, it was in the wrong directory. What can I do to fix that? One of the things is very, very simple. Go ahead and with both hands, you're going to be looking as if this is the trackpad. You're going to be putting, you're either going to put one hand and you're going to touch. That means that you're holding something down, and you may be able to click down, and then you're going to drag. That is, you're going to drag this way. And I want you to practice that. So with my left hand, just happen to be I'm right-handed, so my left hand, I sort of tap down. This sort of selects it, and I can move it at this moment. Okay, and I'm doing a little bit tricky. So if you can picture this, I'm clicking, I'm holding, and then literally without lifting up, I'm moving it around there, and I can do that. Another trick is to tap with one finger and with the other one drag around. That's a little bit easier to do. If you can picture yourself, I can tap on one finger and then sort of drag around there. Okay, so try that. And the idea is that, oh my goodness, Damien, I created my first project, but I put it in the wrong directory. You told me to put it into the code directory and put it into the wrong one. Okay, I'm going to click on it with one finger. I'm still have this left hand down, but my right hand, which is you happen to see it as I'm facing the other way. My right hand is going to move around, and you can see that I can move it anywhere I want. I can let go here let go with my other hand, and now I drag it. I want you to try it different times, and then I want you to drag and drop it. And I'm going to drop it on top of that folder. Now I'm going to click twice, and it will open. And as you can see, the folder that was now outside is now inside the code. One thing I forgot to mention, this location, I'm going to go ahead and click on this X here. Let's talk about these X's. X will close down the window. Okay, I'm going to close it down there. Let's do it one more time. I'm going to click. I'm going to double click, as it's called. I'm going to close down the window. If I click and click the yellow button, it's going to minimize it. Think of minimizing as not I want to close it, although as you can see it looked like it did the same thing. But if you notice carefully, it kind of came to where my window here, where I am, where you're looking at me here. Okay? And it's on the right hand side here. So let's look where it is here. It's right here. So if you can see my mouse here, I've moved down to the bottom corner, and next to the trash and some of the other things will be the version that we have here. Again, this will close it. It's no longer here. If I look down here, it's not on the sort of pending area, the waiting area. You're going to open it up here, and then I'm going to put the yellow, and it's going to minimize over there. So this, what it does is sort of keeps it for a little bit later. Okay? Not a lot later, not in 2 weeks, not in a month. in a couple of seconds. I want to put it down there for a second so I can go to my website, enter my hours for my work, something like that, and then come back to it a little bit later, right? In 10 minutes, half an hour. Pardon me. But not always stay hydrated, right? That's an important part of it. But not in the future. So one of the things that we can do here is this screen one. What is this screen? This runs and says full screen. Now here's an important thing about the Mac. When it means full screen, the Mac means full screen. This version in the green, it means take over absolutely everything. Notice that at the very top, I didn't hide it. My bar at the very top, the Mac is there, is gone. My icons at the very bottom are gone. So full screen, there's a kind of a full screen and a full screen. I want nothing but this. Focus mode, as it's called in other applications. Every one of the applications will do this. So just be aware of it. You might want a different kind of full screen. We'll talk about it in a second. First of all, what can you do to get them out? What if I'm okay with this full screen, but I just want one more icon? If you move to the very bottom, I'm going to move my mouse to the very bottom. Let me move that out of the way, pardon me. Move my mouse to the very bottom. There's my icons coming back again. Do you see that? I'm moving my mouse to the very bottom. They come back again, even though I'm in full screen, okay? I'm going to go to the very top, and if I hold it there for a second, again, I'm going to move my cursor, move to the very top, hold it there for a second, I see kind of my bar back. And you're like, oh, that's not bad. I know what you mean, Damien. Well, I'm going to go ahead and click on the green one more time. In some situations, I personally want this sort of in-between full screen. I don't want the bar at the very top to be gone. I don't want the icons at the very bottom to be gone. So what I'm going to move is around this middle sort of area. And all apps have it, and we'll look at them in a little bit later. I'm going to click on this area here. Depending on the application, it will sometimes, and we'll do it with the browsers, and we'll see that it's full size. It will go ahead and create it'll go sort of many full screen, and I'll show you that because I expected that to happen. And with Windows, some of the with Apple, some of them do this. So I'm going to do that with the Safari, and Safari acts the way I was explaining before. So if you double click here, and Safari opens up, and it's this in between. So let's do that one more time, okay? I'm going to go and click on Safari, okay? I'm going to open up a new window, and I'm going to click anywhere here that there isn't something. Here's something. If I click here, Safari lets me enter a website. If I click here, Safari gives me some options as far as what I've downloaded, things like that. Hopefully you're comfortable with this and you're aware of this. I have two windows, so please excuse me. I'm going to get rid of that second window. And I'm going to get rid of that windows here. Oh, here's an important thing to remember. You can have multiple things at the same time. You just have to be conscious of what's going on in here. By the way, I failed to mention this, but everything looks a little bit strange perhaps to you, as in you're used to some of these things being in white. So the browser at the very top, the section being white, the background of the website being bright. I choose what's called dark mode. It happens to be a choice a lot of people make. Actually, the majority have them left in white mode. We won't go into how to set that. A quick Google or YouTube search can help you how to do that. Just be aware of the fact that yours will look exactly the same, just in white, not black. Not a big deal. I can switch between tabs. Now I'm in Safari. I'm looking at Safari, but you maybe have been comfortable with that. You may have seen that already. What I wanted to show you is a lot of applications. Maybe not the file explorer there, the finder it's called, will do that. But Safari will hear and say, hey, you know what, Safari, I want you to go, let's try that with the green one. I want you to full screen. This is Safari. I want nothing but to focus on the website. This is a great option, but the user doesn't know how to shut down the computer at this moment. You might not know how to get to other applications. You might have to reboot your computer a different way, unplug it and plugging it back in, because you're like, what's going on here? I lost everything. And you didn't, of course you know that, but if you move up to the top and you wait a couple of seconds, kind of a fraction of a second, you'll see you have part of that option down here, and you can still move to the bottom and see the icons. Okay, I'm repeating myself just in case so you can double check and see that. I clicked on that green button and I got it to halfway, but like I said, I like to work with that sort of in-between full mode. What do I do with that? I'm going to double click on here where there isn't anything else, and I'm going to take over the whole width of the computer. The whole width of what you're seeing is 100% taken care of by a browser, but it doesn't get rid of the icons at the very bottom, which has happened to my applications to how to get things, and it doesn't get rid of my search bars and things, my options, my time, my way to shut down things and all that. Okay? So, okay. You have an application. We'll talk about the different things that we're going to go next, but first, what I want you to do is notice that up here you have different options. You may have already done this. I'll go with them quickly. If you do the Apple, you have options like the App Store, which is also down here at the very bottom, that A. We have the option to shut down. You know those type of things. Okay? And you have the option, usually when it comes to an application being on the front page, to force quit. As a developer, you will sometimes have to do this, but you may have to learn that there's some programs that get stuck, and they're truly stuck. You've asked, you waited a couple of seconds, you figured out that they're truly stuck. There is an option to force quit. Every single program has the following: the Apple logo, the name of the program, which usually has options like check for updates. Safari does not, but it also has options that you'll get to know very well. Preferences. You're going to be a developer now. You're going to be in the IT world. You will want to go into the programs and choose preferences because you're going to be an expert soon once we finish that bootcamp. So they're under the program's name. In this case, this is Safari. So Safari is the name, and you'll be down there. There's always a file, or usually is a file, and then there's some informations, and there's usually a help, which has some information about the program that can help you. Should you want to know, for example, what version, and as a developer, we need to know these things. We're going to go to the program's name, again, this case Safari, and click on About. Okay? I'm also going to go click on Safari and click on Quit. Before I do that, I want to show you something. I look like I have quit Safari. I have not. If I wanted to, I could go and open up a different program. Let's open up the App Store, the Mac App Store, where I can download, for example, the latest operating systems, or I can now download other things, and it's asking me for a username and password. I can download these programs. It is safer to do things here than to download them from the internet. Let me repeat that. If you can find it here, and it is absolutely the right one, it is safer to do down here. Now, let's try that. Visual Studio Code is one of the programs you will usually want to develop in. If we look carefully, we didn't get anything like that. And a ton of times, you will get something that sounds fairly close. You're a developer now. Or your goal would be, that is your goal. You are going to achieve that goal. As a developer, details are important. You tap on Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio Tutorials comes up. That's not the same thing as Visual Studio Code. You and I understand that, but you will be judged in the future based upon your differences in specificity. Okay? You have to be very specific with what you do. If Visual Studio Code is what you're looking for, and you type in Visual Studio Code in the Apple Mac App Store, is what we did right now, and Visual Studio Code from Microsoft doesn't come up, it is not the same thing as Visual Studio Code tutorials, or Visual Studio Code extensions, or Visual Studio Code tips. Just be aware of that. So, what did I mention before? If you notice carefully here, under the icon for Safari that we were in a minute ago, there's a little dot. Now the dot in Mac tells me it's still running. And if I click here, it comes and thankfully creates a new window. But like I mentioned before, I said it wasn't closed. I'm going to do the same thing with the apps. The App Store did close when I closed that window, but Safari isn't actually closed. Safari is kind enough that when you click on here one more time, even though it's not closed, it opens up a new window. Here's what I mean by that. When you click on close, Safari is still running here. You may want to see a bunch of things running. You're like, wait a minute, I just closed Safari. How come it's not running? One of the things you can do is you can click on the Safari and truly go to Safari and click on Quit. If there's a program running and you're not quite sure why it's running or why you closed it and it didn't close, one of the options is to the option click. There are 3 ways to do this. We mentioned this before. I'll do it one more time. If you have a mouse with a right click, as I have here, you can right click on the icon. If you have a trackpad, you can do a 2-finger tap, like a peace sign, tap together at the same time. Or you can hold down the Option key on your keyboard. You'll say the word Option or Alt, A-L-T, but it'll say Options are very large. And click. Oops. My goodness. My apologies. That should have brought that up. Let's try that one more time. All right. Option should have brought that up. But if I did the 2-button click, please excuse me, I should have brought that up. It must be my keyboard. What you're going to get is the Options menu. Okay? So what I want to know there is let's concentrate on the bottom. I'm going to do the 2-button click tap with the trackpad. And I'm going to get some options. And one of the biggest options is quit. Here I am. I've quit the program 100%. If I was running it and it was having some trouble, I could right click and quit or force quit. Sometimes when it doesn't want to quit, you can force it to quit. But also one other thing that we have down here, so if there's any questions, you can leave it in the comments. You can do the same thing. And when you have down here, one thing I want you to be aware of is remove from dock. The very bottom here is called the dock. As a developer, you're going to have a lot of applications that you're comfortable with, that you want to use all the time, and other applications that you do not need. I myself have several of those. I will take them through with you. I will take you through all the ones that I want to remove. Okay? So now we're talking about the dock down here. One of the things is I despise having these little applications that I never am going to use on my Mac here. I use them all the time on my phone. But the maps is not something I enjoy using it. So if I have the option to here and remove from dock, what I do is get a little bit of more space. Now at this moment it's just sort of shrinking. Who cares how long it is? Who cares if they're not doing any purpose? But one of the things we can do is you can say messages. I don't use an iPhone, so therefore messages don't make sense to me. I'm going to remove it. Similar to FaceTime, for you it may make sense to leave it there. Please leave them if they're there. At no time should you take my advice. This is a personal choice. I personally do not want to see this here, so I'm going to remove it from the dock. We'll see how to add things from the dock in just a second. TV, well, I don't have Apple TV, so I'm going to remove it from the dock. News, I get my news elsewhere, so I'm going to remove it from the dock. Books, well, that's what I have my Kindle for. Remove it from the docks. This is getting a little bit boring here, right? But you understand what I'm doing. I'm making the choice to remove them. We're going to find out in 1 second how to add them. In fact, let's talk about that. Down here on the right-hand side, between the bar on the right, is a couple of things that's important. The Downloads directory. The Downloads directory is where you can click on and find downloaded apps. In this case, I have a file that is going to let me do some things in there. And we'll check out those files in 1 second. But where are my other applications? How do I get access to the other applications? Actually, you know what? Let's install some of the other applications you'll probably need as a web bootcamp developer. I'm going to go to Safari, and I'm going to go to google.com/Chrome. Chrome. Google.com/Chrome. You may like Safari. You may love Safari. You may expect Safari to be great. You may know that Google Chrome is evil. Pause for effect. But Chrome is the majority of people out there. And as a web developer, you're going to be responsible for testing it on all the browsers that your team or the world is using. So you do want to install it here. How do I install Chrome? I can install it, I believe, from the App Store, and that is the first thing. In fact, let's do that. Let's go to the App Store. I'm going to go down here, click on the App Store, and I'm coming here and I'm going to type in Chrome. My goodness. You should log into the App Store, but you can understand what's going on here. And as you can see, I don't see anything. It's important to go and say, oh my goodness, look, it's the Chrome icon here. This must be the right one. Take your time with the App Store. There are people that will choose to say it's a filter for Chrome or something like that. So don't always rely on the first option here. Okay? A lot of times you will find the right thing. In this case, we didn't. Since we didn't, I'm going to go to google.com/Chrome as we did a second ago. I'm going to click on download. I'm going to be asked, in this case, I unfortunately have a 2014 Mac, so it's an Intel chip. If you have a modern Mac, you will know if you paid over $1,000, it is an M1 chip, so go ahead and choose that one. Do you want to allow downloads from google.com? In this case, I do. And it's downloading. So as you can see, the icon jumped and landed on that downloads directory that I mentioned a little bit earlier before. Here's an important factor. In the middle, as you can see here in the progress bar, it is downloading. On the far right here in Safari, I'm going to see that I can see that it's downloading right now. So, what do we do at that moment? You cannot stop Safari or Chrome or any browser while it is downloading if you care to wait for that download to happen. Let's just be aware of that. The download, depending on the internet, will be fast or slow. Not to worry too much about that. All right, so you have your download. It's ready to go. How do you get to it? In Safari, as in with Chrome, you can click on this icon and simply click on it. Now, we're developers, so we're going to do it a little bit easier. I'm going to go, and you can minimize Safari. That's perfectly fine. It stays on the right-hand side. As you remember, it went over here. So you can come back to it later. Because of what I'm going to be talking about doesn't concern Safari, I'm going to close it. So I went to the word Safari and closed. And I'm going to go to downloads here, and I'm going to go and click on this. If I want to just click on, you can click on this Chrome right here, or you can click on this arrow here. This will open up in what's called the Finder window. And we'll talk about this. This is very, very, very important for us as developers. I want you to be conscious that you're going to be getting some files in DMG as a Mac user. DMG is sort of a package that we can open, and it has different things ready for it. It essentially will have two icons. One will be the icon we're looking for, in this case Chrome, and the other one an application. Just like I said, you can see that. And sometimes you will see them left and right. Here we see them top and bottom. And your job will be to install it by clicking on it and dragging. Oops. And to application. Pardon me. You will not see this normally pop up. Normally it's just a matter of drag and drop and it'll be instantly going there. If you hold your icon there, as you can see in Mac, it will open up the folder saying maybe you wanted to put it in the subfolder. Not in this case, just the regular applications. When it comes to Mac, we've installed successfully Chrome. That's it. At this moment we can close it and notice something very carefully. Like eagle-eyed people around here have noticed that instead of just my code directory here, I did have a Chrome, and it looks like an old-fashioned DVD player or CD external thing. This is the package. If you look at it carefully and click on it twice to open it, it's the same thing we saw before. So I'm going to go ahead and close that, and it goes back there. And I'm going to drag it to the trash. And if you notice something, the trash changed to sort of an eject button. Some of you old enough like me will notice that it's an eject button. Others will say, why is it a pyramid with a little base on it? It's the eject button. In other words, you're done with that document, you don't want it to have it running, and it will go away. Fun fact, if you reboot your computer, it will also go away. It's kind of there temporarily. It's sort of a package ready for you to do a bunch of things in there. Okay, so where did Chrome go? It's not down here. I installed it successfully, I promise you. It's not under downloads. I mean, there is the package to reinstall it, but I don't need to reinstall it. I just want to run it. What can I do to run it? There's two things you could do. The first is hold down the command key and press the spacebar. Spotlight will come up here. Please excuse me. Spotlight will come up here. And we can type in Chrome here. If I spell it right. Chrome will come up there. And I can click on it, and it will start. Notice something that's interesting here. Oh! All applications, as they're installed, Mac knows where it came from. In this case, it knows it came from the internet. And it's telling us, Google Chrome is an application downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? I personally downloaded it from Google Chrome, from google.com/Chrome, so I trust it personally. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Open. You're welcome to click on Show Web Page to see which of the web page it came from if you're not quite sure what's going on here. It's already letting me know notifications, and it's already asking me information. It's asking me, do I want Chrome to be my default browser? It is a personal choice of yours. I personally do. And I'm okay for Chrome to send automatic information. You can choose any which way of these or any combination of these that you choose. I'm going to go ahead and click on Start. And then it's saying, do we want to switch Chrome to be the default? I do. So I'm going to say Use Chrome. There's still the notifications that we got here a bit earlier. And in the most modern Mac, you will have an X here. If not, you'll have a close button here on the right hand side for older versions of the Mac operating system. Chrome is exactly like Safari. It is kind of taking up part of the screen. If I double click on this area that's sort of the top where normally the word Chrome would be, this says Welcome Chrome, I can make it partially full screen, almost full screen, but not quite. Or I can make it really full screen, which is our focus mode, but then I have to remember if I scroll up to the very top and hold down for a second, you're going to get those Windows options back in there. And if I scroll down to the bottom, these items in the dock could be down there. Okay. Similar to Safari, I can semi-close it, even though at the very top it still says Chrome, so it's actually still running. So there's no window open and there's no tab open, but Chrome is technically running. Now, one of the things I wanted to do is keep it. I like where it is. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to do the right click on the button, as opposed to if you set the mouse to left click to be the normal click, click, then the right click will be the opposite click. I'm going to use the 2-finger salute where I'm going to sort of like peace out, and press on the trackpad twice while my cursor is over the Chrome. I'm going to do that, and I have the options here. Here I have options like open up a new window, just a new tab to see what's going on there. Open a new incognito mode. You will get very familiar with incognito mode, which you will remember in the future, and your developer, teacher, and TAs will ask you to open an incognito mode for a lot of testing, things like that. You'll know what understand it is by them telling you what's going on there. Just be aware that it's here for you. One of the options we're interested in right now is keep in dock. This now is part of the dock area. And you know what? I personally don't like it on the right hand side. I personally like it on the left hand side. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to do the same thing there. I'm going to either click and drag, but there's only so much I can do with the mouse, or click with one hand down, and then with the other finger drag. And it can be left or right finger. So I'm going to prove that by clicking with the right finger. My right hand is down, and I'm going to go ahead and, whoops. Apparently I was wrong here. I think you can, I'm sorry. You can click and drag. I think you have to do it a little bit quicker. So I can go ahead, again, this is something you have to sort of I'm going to drag it. And if I do it fast enough, I click it and drag fast enough, I can move it anywhere I want here. Okay? And I want it about here and all that. So, and you can play around with them. Sometimes there's a matter of moving them close to the corner here. What's going on here? Let's drag in here. This is something you have to practice. I've been doing this for, 10 years I've been using Macs, and I still, as you can see, doing all that. So, I'm going to choose to remove some of these things, continue removing them. I know it's so boring watching me do what you're not going to be doing, but, I just want you to be aware of the fact that you should clean your desktop up, and you'll see why in a couple of minutes. All right, we're getting to sophisticated things. Let's go back to the folders. Here's my folder, and here's my project folder. And inside, I'm in the project folder. But here's the one I want you to be aware of. This is called the desktop. When you put things in when you first see your computer, it's called the desktop. This is a code directory inside of a desktop. Inside the code directory, there's a directory called projects. What I have down here is some options that may be interesting to you. This little kind of 3 bars, if you click on it, will give you an idea of what's going on in here. It will make it more obvious is if I right click in here and I go new folder, project, whoops, let's keep it consistency with the capitals, project 2. Now I'm in code, and I have project 1 and project 2 folders. If I drag project 2 folders to this one, they appear on the desktop because they're the same thing. Okay? And now if I put project 2 and I put it inside of code, again, similar to I did the icons at the very bottom, I click with one finger and I move with the other finger. And I'm dragging it. And excuse me, I dragged it too much and I made a clipping and all that. Just ignore what I did here. So I'm going to move around and I want you to do the same. Start dragging things around. Put project 2 inside of project 1. So if it's getting a little bit confusing, I'm going to go back to this one icon here, and left and right, similar to what you do in the website, I'm going to start navigating here. I'm going to go into code. I'm going to go into project 1. I'm clicking, click, 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 click with the mouse. You might not hear it. And I'm going into project 2. And this is the file that's inside project 2. I'm going to right click here and I'll make a new folder. Now in the future, in a couple of minutes, we're going to create files, but just something you should be aware of. Okay? It's easy with folders, I can see them, and so that's where there's no files, and normally you would see 14 different files in here. But just be conscious of that. Here's the desktop and it's going on. One of the things so this is something that's important. I want you to practice moving things around, moving things in and out, going Control Z to undo what you did, Control Z, to undo what you did, and to understand what's going on in there. And we created some new icons. We understood what's going on here. So here's some things I would personally do. The next thing we do, other than Chrome and Safari for your testing, will be terminal. Now, you've heard of this terminal. You maybe haven't heard of this terminal. You've maybe heard something called it X terminal because they're very advanced. You've heard someone call it command line because they're from the Windows world. You've heard other people call it DOS prompt or prompt. We have something like that. It's already built in, and it's called terminal. Terminal. Let's open it up. I clicked command space, tapped in terminal, and a new terminal came up. The second I typed it in, very fancy things came up there that you will see only once. And this is the terminal. This is our computer. It is a different way to interact with our computer. It can run programs, but actually double-clicking on it, you know this, I can double-click on that icon to install Chrome, so I can choose to run programs in here as well. Okay? In fact, I can open up Chrome from here. I can go open up Chrome. And, my apologies, I didn't set that up right, but Chrome would have installed and opened up had I set it up correctly. Let's not worry too much about it. This is the command line, and it's very similar to things on the right-hand side when I navigate things on the right and the left. When I'm navigating here and I grabbed here and I drag it here, I can do things from the command line. And you'll learn a little bit more about this. Just be aware of those things in the command line. In fact, you know what's going on in here. You just don't perhaps see it in a different way. Let's run it on the command line. How do I do things? How do I double-click? Can I open it up? Well, inside the command line, I'm just one level. It's unusual, but think of it as one level below the desktop. That means I have to go CD, change directory, desktop, and I'm going to be inside the desktop. I'm going to go, CD is going to into directories. CD ... gets me out of the directories. On the right-hand side, when I double-click on something, I go into the directory. When I click on the back on the arrow, I go out of that directory. If that makes sense. I'm going to go CD desktop. Notice I did it with lowercase in the beginning and an uppercase in the beginning. Mac is an operating system that is case aware, just case insensitive, not case agnostic. So or agnostic is the right word. DOS and Windows doesn't care. Windows doesn't care if you go CD desktop and it's lower uppercase and you choose the lowercase. It doesn't care. And it doesn't care if you tell it by programs to open up a particular file, project 1 with a capital P, and you tell it to open up project 1 with a lowercase p. Apple also doesn't care and will let you get away with it. But some programs do care. So just be aware of that. You're like, in my desktop, I do have a project 1 directory. I should have a code directory. And inside there's a project 1. What's going on? Why is my code not carrying? It's probably because of the upper and lowercase. So again, just like we talked about before, just be aware of it. I'm going to list or see the documents that we see on the right-hand side on the desktop. Go ls-l. And it happens to be the first time I've installed it, so it might happen to you as well. It says, would you like to have access, terminal, the program we're in right now, would like to have access to the files in your desktop folder. Again, the desktop was what is on the right hand side. This whole area is in the desktop. I'm going to click on OK. I do want to allow it. And it showed me. It shows me files that I don't see. Don't worry about those. Those who start with period are kind of hidden from the system. And they have to do with other things that are unrelated to what we're going to do. We might see some of those files, but they're unrelated to what we're going to do. In fact, in the future, we will code some of these files, and they will be also hidden to the system, but you and I will know about it. We'll be able to see them in the terminal because we're developers, and we'll be able to see it in our programs because also we're developers. I want to see what's inside code. We know what's inside code, but let's see it. I'm going to go cd space code. I'm going to go ls minus la. Just memorize ls minus la. This is not a big deal. You will not have to do this, but this will help you with a lot of the systems. I went inside my desktop. Inside my desktop, I went inside code. And there I went into project 1. So what I did on the right hand side, I'm going to recreate what I did. I went inside desktop. You can see I clicked on desktop. I clicked on code. And then I could see what's going on in here. Again, I see project 1. And again, the one that starts with a period is ignored by the right-hand side, but we understand that it's there. I'm going to go cd project 1. And it's going to say, I don't understand it. And you're like, oh, Damien, you chose the wrong letters. Okay, fine. Pretty project with the right 1. What's going on? The command line cares about spaces. And one way you can get around with it is by using quotes, and we'll talk about it a little later, but the other one is using the tab. So tab will help you with it. So I can go cd space, and I'm going to start typing. PRO, that's enough. I'm going to press the tab key. Watch what's going to happen next. Tab. It's going to save. It's going to figure out what I want and go in there. I am now inside a directory called project 1. As you can see, on the left-hand side, because it has my computer's name, which somehow is Damien's MPBP, MacBook Pro, I guess, and inside the directory called Project 1. Okay, so I've essentially go here, and if I type in what we learned before, LSLA, I have all the Project 2 in there. Let's confirm that. Double-click here. Oh, here. Oops. I'm in 2 different computers. My apologies. So this mouse is not connected. So somehow it's not working. It's not connected. So one more time, we were in Project 1 on the terminal. We went into Project 1. We went what's in there, and we saw that Project 2 is in there. And if we double-click on Project 2, we see that there's nothing. That's not with a semicolon. I'm going to go cd Project 2. I'm going to type in tab, and I'm going to go in there ls minus la and see that there's nothing there. Okay, so hopefully you understood what's going on in there. You say to yourself, Damien, in the top, and there's some options to give us more information about it. Sorry about the moving around. In the top, see, I keep forgetting, that mouse is not connected here. In the top, I see Project 2. And if I choose one of these options to see it a little bit better, I can see that progression. That I was in desktop, and then I went into code, and then I went to Project 1, and then I went to Project 2. That happened to be inside Project 1. I don't know, it didn't make any sense, but, this would be, part of Project 1, let's just say. Okay, let's rename it a little bit better. I clicked on it once, and it gave me the option to rename it. This is part 1. So, Project Part 1 of Project 2. Project 1, pardon me. But you say to yourself, Damien, in the command line, I'm a little bit lost. I can't really see what you see on the right-hand side. That's true. And this is the third command that we'll learn about. We won't need to learn more on that. It's called PWD, pardon me. And this gives us that we're inside, well, we're inside all of this. We're going to kind of ignore this. We're a user, so we're inside the users directory. I'm logged in as Damien, because my name is Damien, so I have the Damien directory, and I'm in the desktop of Damien, and I'm in the code folder, right? This one that's up here, code. And inside code, I'm inside Project 1, which is inside Project 2. Let me put them side by side so you can see them both in there. I'm inside the desktop, inside code, inside Project 1, inside Part 1. Okay? So let me see if we got to go back here. part. PW. Well. So the three commands were cd, ls minus la, with a space in between, and pwd. That's pretty much everything. To go back out of part 1 into project 1 and back out to project into code 2, we do cdp period period. And period means just go back. It's pressing this button here, if you remember. So now I've gone period cd, and I'm inside, if you can see, desktop code project 1. Okay? Hopefully it's more easiest for you to see. Okay? All right. So we've folded. We've gone to different places. At this moment, I can exit, and I can close down the terminal. We're almost there. Now, there is one more thing. We're going to install a couple of different things, but you have a good control of the system at this moment. You know how to add and remove icons here. You know how to make directories and move them, how to move things around in the system, how to grab this and take it out of here and say it's going to be part of code. It's going to be in the desktop. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to drag it and put it inside here. You can picture now I'm inside code. Again, because I choose this icon over here. So I can move things around, and it's an important part of a programmer's repertoire, of you learning bootcamp. To be able to move things around, to be able to install things from the internet, to be able to move icons down here, to be able to find things in here. I'm going to give you one last little tidbit before I go into some sophisticated things that we're going to be doing. It's almost done. These things over here are something you can know should do. Whenever you open up a folder, by the way, this, when I'm in, is called the Finder, as you can see down here. And this is this icon here, the happy face. Okay? And the happy face is how we get from a program when we're in the Chrome and you're like, oh, I don't want to lose what I'm doing in Chrome. I just want to see the files that I have there before I download the right one. I can click on the happy face and go into, for example, the desktop. And these things down here can be moved up and down. So I can go and say, you know what? I like them over here. Again, I clicked and then moved with the other hand. You can quickly click and drag if you want, but that's kind of a difficult thing to do. Well, if you tap and drag with one hand, tap and drag, right? Tap and drag. It's a little bit easier. Applications is where all your applications live. And I personally suggest you do the following. Not just move it up here. That'd be fine. That'd be a fine thing to do. Remember, we're in Finder. I'm going to go ahead and close down Chrome so that we don't get confused. And do it with a shortcut. I'm going to Command Q, which happens to do this option here. Okay? Command Q. Hold down Command Q. It's gone. Getting back to our folders. Under any window, whether it be you're inside of a folder, and there's that, you click down here, and it goes to Recent, or you click on the Downloads directory, which is automatically in the system, Downloads, and you click on this. Any one of those will give you that list that you see on the left-hand side. Okay? What I suggest is clicking on the word application and dragging it to here on the right-hand side, similar to how you have the downloads. So again, I clicked on this. It looks like it's not clickable. It looks like you can move it up and down only. But I clicked, and with the other hand, I dragged down here and put it over here. Okay? Don't do it twice. Oh, or else they move around in here. Okay? Remember, you can always Control Z to undo that. So go Control Z, and it will undo what it did over there as far as the folders. Oh, we forgot to do the terminal. You will need the terminal. So I'm going to choose to right-click with the two buttons. Right-click with your mouse, or tap with the two buttons on the trackpad, and get the menu, go to Options, and Keep in Dock. That way it stays here, and I choose to put it here in the middle. Okay? And then I'm reminded to remove some of the other ones that I don't really care about. Okay? All right. Two more things and we're done, I promise. I want you to go ahead and go to Chrome and do the following. You will be asked to download this, so you'll be doing yourself and the TAs and teachers a little bit of benefit if you go to code.visualstudio.com. and you click on Download for Mac Stable Build. Remember, you're on a Mac, so a lot of times the download option doesn't come up there. On the Safari, it'll be on the right-hand side, and you can see it. On Code, it's on the right-hand side. I'm sorry, on the bottom left-hand side. And you get the options to open it from there, just like it is in Safari, once it's finished. One of the things you can also do is continue doing other things. The last things you will do as a developer, as a programmer, when you go in there, is you will install a lot of things using Brew. And Brew just gives you an easier time to install a lot of things which are complex. So I'm going to leave that for a little other time, and but just to let you know that you should install it. The last thing is that no matter what kind of developer you are, you should install Node. Now, Node is a JavaScript code executor. It is for back-end code, it is for front-end code, but for example, even if you're doing something with Python, if Python is what you're going to be doing, the moment you do things with front-end, a lot of the front-end things, React, Angular, some of the other things you're going to be learning, require Node. So now is the time to install it, just before you walk in there. What I suggest is you always choose the current one. Currently, the 15.5.1 is the current one. You'll be fine currently installing whichever version it is. Click on the current one. Do not choose the LTS one, although if you did by mistake, you'll be fine. There is ways to upload it. At least when you have the latest version, you'll be fine. Okay. We've downloaded most, and as you can see, they jump on the right-hand side. Can you see that kind of over there? Kind of over there, pardon me. There. They jumped. So let's look at them. We can click on this triangle and choose them to show them in Finder. Again, that's looking at. But we're developers, we know what we're going to do. Since they're all downloaded, I'm going to go ahead and quit. And I'm going down here to download. I'm going to click on them. Instead of doing things on here, I'm going to choose this arrow, which opens them up for me to give me more access. Whenever there's a DMG, a new little open up program comes up, and I drag and drop icons. Whenever there's a zip, when I click on them twice, click, click, they expand by themselves, and they give me a directory, or in this case, a program. Okay? Since Visual Studio is going to be very important, and it happened to make a program, usually it's a directory. When this case made a program, what I would suggest is that you click and you drag towards the applications. Or you can choose, if you already follow my advice, and choose them down here. Hence why you had them here. Drop them there. Visual Studio is now installed. That's it. No other installation required. Node is a little bit different. Node, as you can see, when I click on it, a pop-up doesn't come up, which gives me the opportunity to drag and drop the applications. A zip doesn't come up. That opens up a program, goes into directory, and lets me drag and drop it to the applications. A little wizard comes up there, which I'm going to go here. And I know enough about Node not to have to read all these requirements. I'm pretty sure my firstborn is already there, so I'm pretty sure the first person who asked me for that already had it in their license agreement. So I'm going to go ahead and agree. Again, we're installing Node, maybe because you're going to do it in your backend, hopefully, as a bootcamp, but if not, it is going to be required for a lot of things. So even if you didn't need it at all during your whole session in Node, which I highly suggest, highly be surprised, install it, it'll help you do it. It's very kind after the installation node. It's saying, the package which installed the program, would you like me to move it to the trash? You know what? That would be very convenient. Go ahead and move it to the trash. Talking about the trash, I'm going to click on the same one, the one that says Visual Studio Darwin zip. And I'm going to move it down here. By the way, just to let you know, Darwin is the open source version of the Mac operating system, so it is sort of the core of the Mac operating system. So you'll see sometimes a Macintosh installation be called Darwin. So don't be surprised by that. We've installed Chrome, and I've already updated my operating system, so I'm going to drag and drop them. One more time, I want you to practice this a lot. I click with one hand and then drag with the other one. Okay? Practice that, moving things back and forth. My downloads directory is now closed and everything here is open. Should I want to install Visual Studio, you can go ahead and guess for me ahead of time, but I can go Command Space and get a search button that I can go and say Visual Studio, and Visual Studio code will come up there, and I'll click on it. Or I can open up any folder and then choose Application, find Visual Studio, and double click on it. Or if you followed my advice, I hope you did, you have an icon down here called Application, and you can just sort of scroll down to the very bottom where V comes in there for Visual Studio. I'm going to click on it. Visual Studio was downloaded from the internet, so we went ahead and are asked if we want to install it from the internet. And we're okay to open it from the internet, so we're going to say OK. Visual Studio is what you're likely going to be using, and you should be aware of it, learn it, and utilize different things with it. But I'll leave that for your teacher to do, because it's something you'll have. At this moment, you have Visual Studio installed. You know how to move things around, click, and with the other hand, drag into different places. You know how to go Control or Command Z to undo things, which you'll be able to use in other places inside the code, inside the project. You know what it's like to move things around. The Visual Studio also should be saved in your options, so I'm going to right-click or double-click with the buttons, or Option-click, and I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the dock. This is how we're going to move things around. I'm going to also do the same thing I do when I drag files over here. Please practice them and drag them over here, okay? So I want you to, at this moment, you've installed everything. There was the brew to install. I will do it right now, but I just want you to install brew. To keep it for later, it will be ideal to install it, but it is not required to install it. Okay? So my dog is deciding that I've already talked too much, so perhaps your dog is doing the exact same things, so I might finish it. I will do it once for you, but I will go ahead and click on this icon. This will copy it. I'm going to open up the terminal. Never do something like this that you don't trust 100%. I particularly know this well, so I'm going to let it copy and paste some stuff in here and install this. But I want you to do this step in front of your teacher so that you know exactly what's going on with that. Okay? This has been Daniel Montero. I want you to be comfortable and enjoy yourself with the bootcamp. I want you to enjoy yourself with learning, and I want you to do great. We need people like you doing what you are doing, and what you are doing is becoming one of the many few but very successful people in life that have been able to work through this pandemic with ease, enjoy ourselves, and if you can, come to the next Florida.js. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great one. This has been Damien from Florida.js.